Welcome to Knowing the Father podcast with Ray Eppard, a podcast focused on helping you have a rich personal relationship with your Heavenly Father. Now, here's your host, Ray Eppard.
Ray Eppard, and this is Thoughts on Ministry. Today, again, we're going to be just looking at things that I would call general principles of ministry that I believe can help you be effective. Now, with this, again, one of the things I want to encourage you to do is if you've got certain questions about ministry or whatever, I don't really have an agenda here that I'm trying to make certain things get across. I just want to share principles. But if there's particular areas that you've got questions or concerns about, be sure and message us. You can do it through Facebook, iTunes, so forth. Just look for Ray Eppard or Ray Eppard Ministries and send that to us, and we'll see what we can do about getting back to you with that and talking about it here. Because bottom line is, people are people, and it's the same stuff all over. All of us have to deal with the same thing. So there is a continuity. It might come packaged a little bit different, but the bottom line is it's all the same stuff. Anyway, today what I want to look at is found in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, the 12th verse. Here, the Apostle Paul says, "Even so you, since you are zealous for spiritual gifts, let it be for the edification of the church that you seek to excel." In other words, the thing that you should be putting your biggest attention on to be the best at is edifying the church, building up the church, building up. And by that, we're not talking about a building, an organization, or an institution. We're talking about the people. The people are the church. God does not dwell in building. God doesn't dwell in a building, a constructed building that people made. God dwells in the hearts and lives of his people, and he dwells among his people. He said, where two or three are gathered, I am there in the midst of them. It's not about the building, it's about the people. And here he says, seek to excel to the edifying of the church. The phrase I'd like to use that we're going to talk about today is build people up. Build people up. You see, so often, if you would, in ministry, I've seen this, that people are more, the emphasis is more on getting people straight and making sure they're doing what they ought to be doing and not doing what they shouldn't be doing. And obviously we're in favor of both of those. But a lot of it comes down to how you do it. How you do it. Most of us have probably heard the story about the professor that, brought in a clear container, and he put the big rocks in, and then he asked the students, was it full? And they said yes. And so then he took and he poured some small pebbles in it and so forth. Then he said, is it full? And they said yes. Well, then he took sand and he put sand down in it, and that went down and found the crevices in between the larger rocks and the small pebbles. Well, is it full? Yes, it's full. Then he poured water in it, and bottom line is that, he asked him, what's the point here? One of them said that there's always room for more. Well, no, there's not always room for more. We got 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and at some point you got to sleep. So there's not always room for more. But with that, what he shared with them, now it's not about there's always room for more. The important thing is to put the big rocks in first. And you see, when it comes to ministry, so often we're putting the little pebbles in. We're putting the sand in. We're putting the rocks in. We're putting the sand in. We're putting the water in, rather than focusing on the big pieces. Jesus told the Pharisees one time. He said a lot of the stuff you teach. He said you're straining out a gnat, and swallowing a camel. In other words, a gnat's a very little small thing. Obviously, a camel is a pretty big thing. And what he's saying is you're not giving the people the big things, you're giving them these little tiny things. He said, you're dealing with all this other stuff, but he said, not that you needed to leave that undone, but you need to focus on these big rocks: faith, love, mercy, judgment. He said, those are the big rocks. And you see, with that, in ministry today, one of the big rocks is building up people. Building up people. You see, most problems in a person's life, in their walk and in their relationship with God, is solved through spiritual growth, through spiritual development. So if we can help them grow, then it will take away a lot of the other issues that we try to deal with in the flesh. Blessing that if we can actually get them to grow, and then that gets taken care of, they are still in a better spot than even if they'd have fixed it back here, because they've grown. So they're in a stronger, healthier position spiritually than they've ever been in. And now they've got this stuff out of the way, and now they can just move forward with God, and they're in a good spot with Him. Where here, yeah, they get that stuff out, and they still might not be in a place they can do much for God because they're not spiritually developed. We need to build people up. I can remember Kenneth Hagin. He shared one time, he said that he was answering a question a pastor had asked him, and he said, one thing to remember. He said, when you are ministering to the people on Sunday, he said, understand, all week long, they've been dealing with the devil and the world and life, and very often it's beating them down. When they come in, build them up. And you see, the thing of it is, in ministry, that's one of the things we really need to do. People need to be strengthened. People need to be encouraged. If we focus more on that and helping them grow, then a lot of things get taken care of. It just, again, it almost magically takes care of itself. And with that, it produces so many more benefits in the long term, because people are stronger, they're in a better position, and their love for God has grown as well. And so it changes the whole dynamic of things. It just makes it work so much better. But anyway, remember, build people up. I hope this is helping you with serving God. And join us again next time for my thoughts on ministry.
You've been listening to Knowing the Father with Ray Eppard. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Podbeam, Stitcher, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.